You have come across many crime thrillers which might make you scared. But every once in a while, a real crime will have a twist, so weird and unexpected, and also so funny. Let's see 3 real-life cases which had unbelievable stupid endings. This is Life Hack. Welcome to Greatest Real-Life Funniest Crimes. Before going to the video, please subscribe our channel to get more interesting real-life documentaries. Let's get into the video.
On August 3, 2017, a neighbor found the bodies of 2 Frenchmen, 69-year-old Lucien Perrault and 38-year-old Olivier Boudin, who seemed to have died during a lavish dinner. At first, the police assumed that they had died from food poisoning. But when testing by the famous Pasteur Institute in Paris, concluded that the meal didn't contain any botulism. A mysterious murder was suddenly on the table.
But who had killed these men? And how? The police found no signs of struggle, and the 2 men hadn't any enemies and lived simple lives, said one neighbor. They were certainly not the sort of people to be picked off by the mafia. The mysterious case gripped the nation, but curiosity quickly turned depressing, when doctors finally determined the real cause of death. Perrault had literally bit off more beefsteak than he could chew. This caused choke to him and led to death. This could have been prevented by the younger Boudin, but he was a bit busy dying of a heart attack triggered by seeing of his friend being slowly strangled by a bite of beef. When the news was revealed, locals were heartbroken by such a stupid death, but people did feel sad for the careless of man.
On a dark September evening in 2008, 68-year-old Agnes Westland was died near a forest lake outside the tiny Swedish village. Her death was called in by her husband, Ingemar, who claimed he had found her in the snow. When police arrived, they immediately arrested Ingemar. There was no any other person around for miles. It was either him or a wild deer. As it turned out, they chose wrong. With no hard evidence to tie him to the killing, Ingemar was released after 10 days. But because there was no one else to consider, he remained their prime suspect for months on end. He had to move out of his home when his neighbors made it clear they were not keen on living next to a presumed murderer. But when Agnes' forensic analysis finally came back, the report noted that she had the hair and saliva of the deer on her body. Yes, analysts determined that poor woman had been randomly kicked to death by a deer during her evening walk. In general, deers are shy creatures and avoid humans at all cost. But at the time of Agnetta's death, local gardens were strewn with fermented apples. This led difficult even an animal to find a food to eat. Sadly, this makes the bulls aggressive and overly confident, and one probably attacked Agnes. And probably a drunk one? The case was dropped by the police, but not by Ingemar, who understandably sued the department for gross incompetence. In 1995, Donna Grable was tormented by a non-stop stream of harassment. Over the course of 6 months, she received a total of 2,688 strange phone calls at her home. Her phone rang at constant 90-minute intervals, and whenever she picked up, no one voice was on the line. Instead, Grable heard what sounded like a rush of air for a few seconds before the call disconnected. Grable finally decided to involve the police, and they traced the calls to find the person who was calling. However, police could not find any person related to the matter, and the mysterious calls had actually been made by a very unlikely culprit. Finally revealed that the caller coming from basement of her home. When checking the basement, police found that the calls are coming from auto-dialing device which was fixed to an old oil tank in the basement. The perpetrator was a heating oil tank in the basement of the house. The tank was no longer being used, but 8 years beforehand, an auto-dialing device had been installed on the tank by its original manufacturer, Stoyard Petroleum. The device was designed to automatically phone the company to inform them whenever the tank was running low on fuel. The number was disconnected, But in February 1995, Donna Grable set up her own 800 number for a business she was running from her home. She got the same number once used to receive calls from their auto-dialing device. Shortly thereafter, the device on the oil tank reactivated and started making a non-stop series of calls to Grable residents. In the end, she was contacted over 2,000 times by an inanimate object. Expect part 2 coming soon.